Hi and welcome back to another newspaper article, Lucky Dip, with myself and my most beautiful co-host, Yvette. I'll steal your hat, Yvette, thank you so much. You may hear in the background that the cats have something of the zoomies going on and I'm scared for everything at the moment. We'll see how it goes. Whatever's going on with my condenser mic at the moment. Haven't found a fix for that yet, so we'll see. Trigger warnings. If there's anything that disturbs you in any way, affects you negatively in any way, makes you particularly emotional in a way you don't enjoy, have a look down the description below. Make sure that there's nothing that's pulled out the hat today that might lead you to the kind of feelings. I don't know what's coming out, so do check what's going on below. Okay? We'll get right into this one. Give it a good mix to start with. Okay. So to begin with, we have the Dumfries and Galloway Standard for the 7th of January 1852. And we'll see what the Dumfries and Galloway Standard has for us. Okay, so to begin we have, under the head "A Nut for Geologists," an American paper, the Springfield Republican, notices a curious circumstance. Hiram DeWitt of that town, we are told, recently brought with him from California a lump of the auriferous quartz rock with which the gold regions abound. When brought out for exhibition to a friend, it accidentally fell on the floor and split open. Unfolding, what does the reader think? A piece of pure gold? No, but a paltry cut-iron nail firmly embedded in the quartz and slightly corroded. It was entirely straight and had a perfect head, adds our contemporary, with a laudable desire to be carefully communicative regarding the minute details of such a strange occurrence. The Republican then, with an air of wisdom, asks, by whom was that nail made? At what period was it planted in the yet uncrystallized quartz? We, at least, cannot answer these sapient questions, but prefer cracking the nut by asking another query. Was the said nail actually found embedded in the quartz rock? Jonathan is so fond of practical joking that probably he forged the nail on the anvil of his own imagination. What? Okay, so from the outset we're to believe that a rock has split open and there has been a man-made iron nail within it. And how is that possible? Because the rock must have taken hundreds of thousands of years perhaps to form. So who was it that made this nail that found itself in amongst this forming rock? It's a good question. If that's the case, it's a very good question. And there is something of a case to be made for ancient humanity. Is it the extreme longevity of humanity, I think, is what it goes by. People like David Icke, the guy that thinks there are lizard people among us, has actually come out with some fairly feasible examples of the extreme antiquity of humanity. That there have been scientists who have found human-made objects in rock that has been tested by specialists of other fields, geologists, etc., who can corroborate that were these human-made items to be created even at the time the rocks were forming, that would reimagine our understanding of humans' timeline in this world. That perhaps there had been a civilization extant on Antarctica. So the way I remember it being put was that there's a map that was drawn up by a Spaniard, I believe. And this map was dated prior to world maps having been thought of, to our knowledge. That at the time this map was created, humanity's ability to circumnavigate the world, having to go around all the continents, etc., in order to map it, we weren't advanced enough to be able to do that. And the map says that it's taken from other existing maps. So it's not even the earliest map of its type, according to the map itself. And the Antarctica on the map is as it looks under the ice, but we only know that what Antarctica looks like under the ice now because of technology such as LiDAR, etc., that can map the terrain underneath layers. So they put a scan of the map over what Antarctica actually looks like without the ice covering it, and its outline, its border is pretty exact. It is very compelling, and it stated that, okay, with our worldview, yes, it would be very difficult for humanity to circumnavigate around all the peninsulas of varying continents and make it around the world, but if there had been a civilization on Antarctica, how easy would it be for them to get around the world? And it would be fairly easy, and it would lend itself to the ideas and cultural traditions, having travelled with a group of people having to leave Antarctica because of climate change, because of an incoming ice age, or the inability to remain there, because there has been found vegetation-like material under the ice from what I've found. So they do believe that Antarctica used to be capable of sustaining life in the form of plants, etc. And that would give one of the theories towards why Egypt have pyramids, but also so do the Aztecs. There's a lot of similarities between the kind of South American, Mexican kind of traditions and Egyptian traditions, and they put that forward as a possibility. There could also be the possibility here that our practical joker Jonathan has just dropped a nail along with an already split rock and gone, wow, what's come out of it? That's crazy, eh? Who knows? I'm open to ideas on it. I like the kind of theories that I've been hearing, and had I more time I might get into it in more depth, but I like the idea of the extreme antiquity of humanity, that scientists are so stuck in their ways that they're not willing to believe or accept at all that the timeline is any different from what we know definitively. But anyway, have another one. That was quite the tangent to go off on. I wasn't expecting that article. Okay. We have the Glasgow Evening Citizen for the 26th of April 1880. Something a wee bit closer to home. Let's see what they have. Okay, so I think we can expect something of a good news article from the title of this next one. We have Narrow Escape from Lightning. A correspondent writes, yesterday afternoon, about 3:45, I was walking with a friend along the Greenock Road, near Aikenhead House. The sun was shining brightly, but in the east there were heavy black clouds. Suddenly we saw in front of us a great mass of dazzling light. It seemed to play for a moment over the heads of two young gentlemen who were walking a few yards in front of us, dashing them flat on the ground, while their hats were sent flying in opposite directions. An awful crash of thunder instantaneously followed. We hastened up to the prostrate youths, whom we found dazed but recovering from the shock. They must have been insensible for some moments, as neither of them saw any lightning, nor had any remembrance of falling to the ground. The only effects were a severe headache accompanied by sickness to the one and a slight headache to the other. A lady and gentleman and some children were also witness of this strange occurrence. I think being struck by lightning makes you nauseous. I don't think I've heard that as a side effect. Severe headache accompanied by sickness. So maybe when he's fallen, he's hit his head, and that's just the symptoms of a head injury. Head injuries can make you very nauseous, and that's a worrying sign. And a slight headache to the other, which again could just be from hitting his head. Flash of light. Hey, I've heard stories in some of these mystery compilation videos you get now, and it's people being struck by lightning on what appear to be entirely clear days, with no hint of where it's come from. It says in the east there were heavy black clouds, but that the sun was shining brightly around them. So it doesn't seem like they had clouds overhead. The clouds were some way off to the east. Could it be maybe a phenomenon of ball lightning? I've heard that can be very strange and come out of nowhere, and it can be very hard to measure and capture because it happens so fast. You'd have to be recording all the time in the hopes of catching such a thing. And even then, it's never guaranteed. It's so sporadic and elusive. I don't know. It could just be one of these cases where it has literally been lightning from nowhere. Yeah, you hear about it happening. I've heard of a few instances, but usually in the United States, but maybe it's just because it's got a far larger population that you're kind of more of a percentage more likely to experience such a thing. I don't know. I have another one. It's turning into quite a strange episode. Lots of conjecture and theories and such. We have the Greenock Telegraph and Clyde Shipping Gazette for the 10th of July 1897. Let's see what the Greenock paper has for us. Okay, we have a one-sentence article here from the looks of it. I've tried very hard not to read it before getting started on it. I like to have an immediate reaction to the things I read for you guys. We have a Glasgow sheriff lays it down that wife-beaters should get a spell of imprisonment and be kicked round the prison yard every day by way of exercise. And in brackets it says loud cheers. So I don't know who he was saying that to, but it was obviously people that were on side with women's rights, etc. And couldn't countenance a man beating up on his partner, as it should be. That's very progressive of them, considering it was 1897, and you would think it was just the norm from some of the stories you read. Yeah, 1897 wasn't as backwards as... We're all very close in time, very little has changed. Really, it's just our technology that's changed. But I can't not concur with that sentiment. So we'll have a fourth and last one. Let's see what we get. The General Evening Post for the 8th of July 1819. Which is quite a wee bit older. Okay, so we have another one-sentence article, because these things are always full of coincidences of some sort. We have, by the exertions of the inhabitants of Arles, the enormous quantity of 2,400 quintals, or 240,000 kilograms, of locusts have been destroyed in 3 weeks. But I thought that was going to end with some kind of bumper harvest, or I have no idea, maybe ore having been mined or something. 240,000 kilograms of locusts. Oh no, I don't enjoy that. I've seen similar things in YouTube videos. There was someone with this crazy machine that just zapped mosquitoes, like attracted and zapped them. And they were out with a broom, brushing these things up, and the piles of mosquitoes, and when you think mosquitoes are so tiny, oh, locusts, 24,000 kilograms of locusts. I don't even know what that would look like. Oh, that's horrible. I wonder if I'm tempting fate by going for another article. If I go for another article, is it just going to be really long? Like, I feel like I'm tempting my luck here, chancing it. Hey, what have we got? The Dunde Courier for the 11th of January 1877. He's a happy article. Okay, well, this should be an interesting one to end with anyway. We have exciting incident, somnambulism extraordinary. Early on Monday morning, a strange occurrence took place in Stonehouse near Plymouth. Police Sergeant Hallwell, with Police Constable Robbins and another constable, were in Mary Street when their attention was directed to the premises in the occupation of Messrs. Underwood and Co. grocers by the opening of a window on the third floor, and the appearance on the outside of it of a man with only his nightshirt on. He got on the sill and then dropped entirely out of the window, hanging on by his hands. One constable ran to endeavour to alarm the inmates, while Sergeant Hallwell and Robbins placed themselves under the window in the hope of being able to break the fall. For 3 minutes the poor fellow held on in complete silence, and then, letting go, dropped into the street, turning over in his rapid descent and coming down head foremost. Sergeant Hallwell was standing directly under, and the man fell on the sergeant's head, both falling on the pavement. The man proved to be a naval petty officer named Broadlake, having charge of the sick bay on board Her Majesty's ship Royal Adelaide. The sergeant is suffering considerably. Would-be. The fact that they both didn't just die. Oh my goodness. If not dropping on your head, but then literally falling on your head right on top of another person's head, that's got to have resulted in at least skull fractures to both or one of them, if not death. We don't find out what happened afterwards. There's no follow-up. Oh. How would they ascertain that it was sleepwalking? I assume the man came round enough to talk to. Maybe there were witnesses inside the house that saw him get up. We've had somnambulism stories before, sleepwalking stories before. We had the Glaswegian who had a night with what I took to be a sex worker, and he disrobed, got into bed, gone to sleep, and she's woken to find him getting up naked, exiting out the window, going along the roof and jumping onto an adjacent building's roof, like some kind of bizarre nude spring-heeled jack, and yeah, it's just off. And then the next you hear of him, he's been found by a policeman, I think on the Gallowgate, just up the road there. And he's in the belief that he's had his clothes and belongings stolen from him, which you can understand, because if you've come around from sleepwalking and you're a bit discombobulated and don't know where you are or what's happened to get you there. I mean, maybe he was dreaming that he was being chased by muggers or something. But she quite happily handed over his belongings and said, "Listen, he just left them after he ran out my window, like completely bollock naked, you know." So we have had sleepwalkers, but that terrifies me. I think if I knew that I slept walk, I would want to tie myself to something. I'd want to lock the doors and windows. I'd be terrified. You hear stories of people driving while asleep and doing other very crazy, complicated things while they're asleep. There's also really funny videos out there of people sleepwalking. There's a woman, an American woman, uploads her house CCTV of her running around and, and her husband like just watching her. Oh my god, she's at it again, kind of. She's hilarious actually. But I think generally that kind of thing has to be fairly terrifying on the whole. So there was the idea that you weren't to wake up a sleepwalker because you could kill them. But I believe there's only like 1 or 2 conditions where the shock of waking can kill you. And one of those is long QT, which I think is a heart condition, but your alarm going off in the morning can kill you if you have long QT. It's fortunately a very rare condition, but terrifying. Just terrifying. There we go. We'll believe that everybody in this story got out with their lives and brains intact. And we'll end on that note. Alright? Thank you for joining me, and I may see you again for the next one. Take care.